broadcasting to you from the heart of northern Minnesota. This is the best music-oriented podcast and web series right here on YouTube. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Roger Radio, and you are listening to The Roger Radio Show. Now, before we get started, just gotta have myself a nice cup of coffee here because I am kind of tired, so I need my caffeine intake. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to be here without my co-host Aegis Don Levity for this episode. He and the rest of the Interrobang group ended up heading to Valley Fair this weekend, so I decided to do a solo podcast. I was initially planning to join them, but I had some other stuff that came up at the last minute that I had to go deal with, so I just told them I wouldn't be able to go. But you'll just be sure there's going to be a lot of good content on that channel soon, so be sure to stay tuned. In the meantime, I wanted to talk to all of you for today's episode to talk about the new documentary of Eminem that dropped on Paramount Plus recently. It is simply titled Stands. I would highly recommend it. It's actually a good documentary. It was very, very insight on, the life and story and whatnot of Eminem himself, the Immortal one himself, with fans coming in to pretty much do questionnaires and all that type of shit. It did also make me feel very, very sad for the things that Eminem had to go through throughout his whole entire life, from when he was young to battling a lot of the other stuff and other personal demons that he had. And the key word for that, ladies and gentlemen, was simply addiction. They also explained his lyricism that he created throughout his entire discography. Like, he's been in the hip-hop business ever since the mid-1990s. And if you look at, let's say, his album, the Slim Shady LP, and then you look at some of his later work, for example, the best analogy that I can make for how his lyrics came to be, from being childish, being childish, perverted kind of stuff, to very mature-ish. There is a hit TV show that's from probably a lot of your guys' time. I know it was from pretty much way before my time, and it's simply MASH. More specifically, the main character of it, Hawkeye Pierce. The best analogy, like I said, for that, and why I say that, is because when you look at some of the earlier seasons of MASH, and you see Hawkeye Pierce being played by the legendary Alan Alda, he acts childish, immature-ish. And then when you look at the later seasons, I would say season 7 and so on, you start seeing his more mature-ish side, showing his more humane side, if it were. That, to me, is how Eminem was with his lyrics, in my opinion. Because if you listen to his albums, listen to the Slim Shady LP from 1999, and then listen to his album from 2010, Recovery, you'll have a full understanding of why I say that. Now, I'm going to get more into this documentary here, and just be warned, ladies and gentlemen, if any of you have not seen it yet, spoiler alerts will be issued. So if you haven't seen the documentary yet and don't want to be spoiled, I suggest you turn this podcast off right now. Otherwise, if you don't mind, let's dive into it. The documentary pretty much has a bunch of people coming in who are certified stans, who are huge fans. One of them in question was wearing a outfit that was from the music video from Eminem's song Without Me. But as we before we start watching the documentary, there is a little public service announcement thing that says if you or someone you know is struggling emotionally or with substance misuse, you are not alone. Visit mentalhealthishealth.us for more information and ways to get help. I will include a link to that website in the description below if you or anyone you know is suffering from that. It continues on to say for like the opening part, in 2000, Eminem released the song Stan, which I would say is probably without a doubt my number 5 all-time favorite song. It's a message a hardcore fan is writing letters and he starts getting much more paranoid and everything. It's pretty much him making a connection with a person that he never met. In 2017, the term Stan was added to the Oxford English Dictionary. Yes. And ladies and gentlemen, this here's the definition for Stan. An overzealous or excessive fan of a particular celebrity. Now, ladies and gentlemen, just remember, it's pretty unique to say the least. Today, millions of Eminem stans all over the world still sing the song's reply, or they still say this exact reply, I'm just like you. I'm just like you. Even though they have never met Eminem personally, but they feel a connection with him because of his lyrics. And as we continue throughout this podcast episode, I will also share some of my stories of why I feel some of these lyrics. So, like I said, it starts, pretty much the whole synopsis of it is they bring in many fans who apparently applied to be on the Stand documentary and whatnot. They even brought in some very notable celebrities also who were interviewed as well for it, and that is including but not limited to Carson Daly, Ed Sheeran, who had been a Stan since 2000, LL Cool J, who was one of Eminem's biggest influences, Jimmy Levine, who was one of the co-founders of Interscope Records, Adam Sandler, and Dido. And of course, last but not least, they also included his mentor, Dr. Dre, who, in my opinion, is not only one of the greatest music producers in hip hop today, but one of the greatest producers of all time. So Eminem was discovered by Dr. Dre in 1997 because of his EP, which was simply titled the Slim Shady EP. And Dre, when he met Eminem for the first time, actually said he was shocked, saying there's no way a white boy can rap. Eminem proved him wrong. Eminem basically stated about the song My Name Is from the Slim Shady LP when he won his Grammys or MTV Awards or whatever it was, I can't remember. It was like a switch went off in him. And he said that the next day, everything changed in his personal life forever. They also ended up doing a shot of him inside his own personal recording studio, and he explains the process of how he records. He said that there was a particular spray that his longtime producer Rick Rubin had recommended. And he said that he would occasionally spray it in his mouth to help soothe his throat when he does his screaming, especially when he's on stage. He even made a remark saying that, in his opinion, that the spray itself is supposed to taste like semen. Although he ain't 100% sure. That's what he said, literally. He would also read his notebooks, like he has mountains of notebooks that has many different rhymes in it, so that he would never experience writer's block. Which is obviously a lesson that all hip-hop artists, in my opinion, should have. They explained the origin story of Eminem growing up with a single mother because his father ran away, and switching schools like every few months. And many of the fans or stands in the documentary were even explaining that they could really relate to him because of all the bullying and harassment that they ended up getting. And many of them even agreed that the song Brain Damage from that same album, the Slim Shady LP, became an anthem for the bullied and harassed. They said that a lot of the music in the Slim Shady LP became a rallying cry for combating censorship. Hip hop has been battling censorship for many, many years up to that point. Whereas you had albums such as Straight Outta Compton by NWA and As Nasty as They Want Be from 2 Live Crew starting to break the boundaries for it. It was the Slim Shady LP and the follow-up album, the Marshall Mathers LP, that dragged the FCC and censorship kicking and screaming. The majority of Eminem's lyrics that he explains were not just about his personal life at that time growing up, but it was also including themes and topics that his fans could certainly relate to. Eminem, after all, was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, which is one of the toughest cities to live in. From his bullying that he received to his personal home life to all the underground rap battles that he took part in, that was life in Detroit. Then we end up coming to his hit song Stan, which in my opinion is one of his greatest songs yet. It pretty much just started with a beat that was from Dido's song Thank You. And all of a sudden, bam! And he looked at the lyrics on there saying, and I quote, "Put your picture on my wall, reminds me that it's not so bad and states that line was very LL Cool J to him. And even asking if he was becoming LL Cool J to someone else and just adds crazy fun to it. Throughout his entire career, at least in the earlier aspect of it, he was facing so much controversy. There was even headlines they showed on the documentary that includes but not limited to Eminem faces music with middle finger. Controversy follows rapper. Glad protests Eminem at MTV Video Music Awards. Congress rips into Eminem. He ended up explaining that he decided to respond with that with the song White America, saying, fuck you with the freest of speech. This divided states of embarrassment will allow me to have. I mean, if that's not combating censorship, I don't know what is. It's always been like a subject of many discussions like, is censorship a violation of the First Amendment constitutional right? But how far can we go with said speech? We've seen it over the last few years on social media, whether it be from X, which I still call Twitter, to people saying whatever, to even Alex Jones's InfoWars, which is now no longer. I myself support the First Amendment, but the only question is, how far are we allowed to go? So continuing on with the likes of this, see here. I just need to see if I can find the what I was looking for here. Fans, many of the fans in the documentary pretty much admitted that they have written to Eminem saying, obviously, the appropriate term, I'm your biggest fan. And they pretty much explain it that it is something like a what they call a parasocial relationship. I'm trying to find what the definition is here. Here we go. They are like one-sided bonds with people that you do not even know, whether they be like celebrities or fictional characters. I'll be honest with you, I've kind of had that at times, but I never went that extreme like some of these crazed ass fans did. Every time when it comes to the song Stan, I always harp back to my radio gig that I do with my radio station. I have a lot of fans, but I've never seen anyone go as crazy as hell like Stans do. But I do love my fans very much. I haven't met any crazed ass ones like from that fucking Clint Eastwood movie Play Misty for Me. And I've watched that movie and I keep looking behind me every time, so. They even explain, or yeah, they pretty much explain even his appearance on the likes of the movie 8 Mile, which in my opinion is where Eminem really, really blew up. In addition to probably his greatest acting performance he ever did, which was almost legitimately true because that was his origin story, so to speak. But the soundtrack for it was splendid. My dad hated hip hop music so much, but I would occasionally catch him listening to Lose Yourself by Eminem, and I would just be in there and like, Dad, what the fuck are you doing? You don't listen to hip hop music? And my dad would just be like, yeah, but this is Slim Shady that we're listening to. Eminem even said that throughout the documentary, and even fans have said it best, that sometimes a fame can be like a prison. You cannot go anywhere without being recognized immediately. And Eminem even says it best in it with the lyrics here saying, and I quote, everywhere I go, a hat, a sweater, hood, or mask. It's like the boy in the bubble, I'm trapped. Anxious to get home. My address ends up on the internet again. Fame to the point of imprisonment. I forced us to live alienated. Haley can't play with her toys in the front yard. I'm the bad guy because I don't answer my door. The show's over. You can all go home now. This ain't how fame was supposed to be. This ain't what I chose to be. Eminem even stated that there was one time that he went to the mall with his daughter Haley, and every time when he looks behind him, he feels like he's getting chased. And not to mention, he was carrying his daughter and he was scared mainly for her life. How could he not be? That was his own daughter. Who was, I think by this point, still like around 5, 6 years old. So who could not be scared for their child's safety? There was even many other stories that came out about, stalkers who end up stalking celebrities too. Some of the other stuff included were like Chappelle Roan explains experiences with stalker, aggressive fans after calling out predatory behavior. Rihanna stalker called a ticking time bomb. Usher seeks another protective order against alleged stalker. Chris Martin gets restraining order against stalker, convinced that she's married to the Coldplay singer. We now get to this point in the documentary, which, in my retrospect, is probably the saddest part of it. In addition to having his own solo career, Eminem was also one of the 6 members of the rap group D12 that also included his closest friend Proof, his childhood friend, his BFF. They were taking part in what was called the Anger Management Tour, which included 50 Cent, a close friend of theirs, and many others. But Eminem was so incredibly exhausted he decided to bow out. That was in 2004 when he ended up deciding to take a much needed break. But that peaceful break would not last long because exactly 2 years later, Proof was fucking murdered. And in my retrospect, that was the turning point in Eminem's life. Seeing his best friend being, or not seeing him, but hearing that his best friend was gunned down in front of a Detroit nightclub, making Proof one of the biggest hip hop artists to die far too soon. And even in the months after, when he was making TV appearances, he was, you could tell in his eyes that he did not want to be there at all. He just wanted to go home and cry and cry and cry. He wasn't there mentally. He wasn't speaking much. It was the other guys from D12 who had to speak for him. Many of the fans in the documentary explain that they have also suffered great losses as well. And Eminem, heartbroken and devastated about what happened to Proof, was dealing with his own addictions at the time and was taking sleeping pills consistently to just be like, I want this day to end and stuff like that. Many of the fans stated that they have lost people themselves and have actually tried to take their own lives. Now, this is going to get to the point where I'm going to speak personally to all of you. I had friends and family members who have all died. I've known people who died from cancer. My grandma died from breast cancer a long time ago. I had friends who tragically took their own lives. I had friends who were killed in drunk driving accidents. Hell, I even had a friend who was fucking murdered. It's been about 10 years since my dad passed away from a heart attack. And I do not know how in the hell I managed to get through all of that. That whole time was without a doubt the darkest period in my entire life. The only issue that I had was I did not have enough time to process it. I was out doing things. I went back to college. I even transferred to my old alma mater that I would eventually graduate from in 2018. But that first year, though, was one of constant drama, chaos, and everything else. Like, it was such a horrible... It was probably the most horrific time in my life. There was my grandma who died while I was at football camp. I went home, went to the funeral, and immediately went back to Virginia, Minnesota, where my alma mater is. and didn't have time to process it. And in addition to all the drama that was going on with our football team at the time, it just added much more that I did not need. And then in January of 2017, it just all caught up to me and I tried to take my own life. Even the therapy sessions that I was doing did not help much. But there was one man who managed to save my life, who I needed when I needed him, and that was my new head football coach, who I, by coincidence, worked with at ICC my first year in college. He was the one who gave me the kick in the ass that I needed. And then everything was up from there. He was the one who talked me out of, who convinced me to not drop out of college. And he pretty much said to me, he actually even personally met with me, and he said, if you drop out now, you will be making the biggest mistake of your life. And he promised me that things would change. Get rid of all the drama. Cut out all the drama and cancer. And that next year, we ended up going to, we were one of 18 teams to be in a national bowl game. And everything was up and up for me from there on. He was the guy who I needed when I needed him. And I'm still extremely grateful for that. Without a doubt. Eminem even spoken about when he, to continue on, ladies and gentlemen, Eminem even spoke about his overdose when he overdosed in his bathroom and nearly dying. The doctor said that he was 2 hours away from dying. It was even reported, according to him, that he was actually shown a videotape that had Haley's guitar recital, and he actually broke down in tears, and that was the final nail in the coffin for him. He was like, I ain't doing this anymore. I'm quitting. I'm quitting drugs and everything. He's been sober since April 20th, 2008. And the man who even saved his life was Elton John. Elton John was calling him every single day to make sure that he was doing fine and okay. Eminem said that he would go to meetings. He would even go to church meetings, and it helped him tremendously. It really, really helped him tremendously. He was starting to resume his music career at that point. He had to, because of the overdosing and all of that, he had to relearn how to walk, talk, and to rap again. And he said that at that time, he felt that his writing was becoming terrible. But in the end, it was starting to improve more better. He ends up releasing Relapse. Pretty good music that I listened to on that one. There's some stuff that I like on there. Mostly Bagpipes from Baghdad is probably my most favorite song from that album. But a lot of people thought that it didn't do as well. But Recovery was where he really got back into the game. He was pretty much deciding to embrace his sobriety in recovery, and it even shows in a lot of the music. His biggest song from that, Not Afraid, became the anthem for getting sober. And even many of his fans who were addicted to things like alcohol and substances were actually there doing whatever. Then all of a sudden they heard Not Afraid and they put the stuff down, they threw it in the garbage and decided, I can get clean too. If he can get clean, I can get clean. Eminem was among the many people who were able to help normalize talking about very, very difficult subjects and feelings and emotions. It had already been around for a long time, but he helped to normalize it much, much more. Even if it's the most difficult things to talk about. In retrospect, fast forward to many years later, we come to his latest work that he released, The Death of Slim Shady, Coup de Grace. Many fans saw it with some of the stuff that he said, that it was his way of telling cancel culture to fuck off. So before we continue on, I want to get into some of this other stuff here as well that I almost forgot about. I do apologize. But I know that to give you an idea of how affected he was about Proof's death, this here is some of the stuff he said. This tore me in two. You were the glue. Constantly be reminded. Burned in my brain. God, why did you take him? Sometimes we all ask the same thing, but we all know that we'll never get an answer. As I said, with him normalizing to talk about very difficult subject matter, it was him and other rappers who opened the conversation about mental health. There was a college student who ended up releasing an investigative article called A Content Analysis of Mental Health Discourse in Popular Rap Music. I'm not sure where I'll be able to find it, but I would recommend looking that up. And it's even explained in some of these lyrics here. I'm beginning to feel like I'm mentally ill. I've been having ups and downs, going through peaks and valleys. I'm walking across a suicidal tightrope intentionally. I feel like I've just hit the rock bottom. I've got problems. I wish someone finally admit me to a mental hospital. It's time to exorcise these demons. I'll be you. Let's trade shoes. Go inside each other's minds just to see what we find. So to continue on with Death of Slim Shady, like I said, it was his way of pretty much telling cancel culture to go fuck yourselves. And even made jabs with many to other celebrities once again. For example, he was slammed for referencing Megan Thee Stallion's shooting in new song Houdini, where he said, "If I got a date with Megan, would I really have a shot at her feet?" Gen Z was trying to cancel Eminem on TikTok. Millennials aren't having it. Like I said, you cannot cancel him. You just can't. As we continue to conclude this documentary, Eminem pretty much states at the end that he is extremely blessed and grateful for his fans and thanked every single one of them as the documentary comes to a close. Probably one of the more heartfelt moments. One of the fans who was on there, named Zolt, who is from Paris, France, actually wanted to visit Detroit to see what was what. There was one day that he was walking down the street in wherever, I don't remember where, and this black van pulled over, and the driver of that van said, "Hey, Zolt, come over here, we want to talk to you," and told him to get inside the van, and lo and behold, Eminem was there. And Zolt said that that helped him complete his life, so to speak. There was another person who was on there who is a trans. And this person changed their legal name to have it be Marshall in reference to Eminem's real name, Marshall Mathers. And then there's this gal from Scotland who, as of right now, says that she holds the Guinness Book of World Records for the most tattoos of one celebrity in particular. She has apparently about 24 of them. Ended up meeting her future husband via Instagram, who also was a diehard Eminem fan. And they actually got hitched in this one place in Detroit where Eminem made his first ever performance. Sometimes one person can really make an impact on another person's life, even though they have never actually met. The one thing that I was really surprised by is that Eminem never mentioned anything about the supergroup Bad Meets Evil that he did with Royce da 5'9". I'm even also surprised that he never spoke a whole lot more about Haley, especially when not mentioning anything about her wedding and when she announced her pregnancy to him, which still gives me the teary eyes. Overall, all I could say is that the documentary really helped us get a little more insight into who this man is and how he does what, how he can do this and do that. Now that we've concluded the documentary, I would like to explain a little more about my personal life as well. Pretty much any time when I used to bleach my hair blonde, I would feel like I'm the Slim Shady. as well. But it's an alter ego that I kind of have, which is under a different name, which I would say is my alter ego name would be Jordan Parsons. Don't ask me why I came up with it, but every time I bleach my hair blonde, I'm like Jordan Parsons or JP, which is my more rambunctious, alcohol-fueled, womanizing ego. With that, unfortunately, being born in the middle of the night on May 12th, 2012, which was a very dark day in my life for many reasons, which I'd rather not get into. And when I've listened to the death of Slim Shady last year, I bleached my hair one final time and decided to quote unquote kill the blonde in my life. But the only question though is, how long can Slim Shady stay dead? Is he dead, or is he just gonna come back to life like always? With me helping out at Grand Rapids Riverfest, which will be my 3rd year this year. I've always been starstruck by the musicians that we bring to headline them. I've been very fortunate enough to get to meet them and to even get pictures with them. I wouldn't come off as like one of them extremely crazed fans, like some people say I do, but it's not true. The only thing I do is just go up to them, shake their hand, and just simply thank them for coming to perform for us. And I ask if I could get a picture with them, and then I leave them be. Because I got a job to do after all. What else is there for me to really say right now, ladies and gentlemen? It was overall a very great documentary. And I know that Eminem at the end explained or thanked his fans, saying that he felt extremely grateful for his fans. Well, I want to say it to all of you right now. The same thing. I want to thank every single one of you who have supported me on my radio shows, who have continued to support me, and I thank all of you who have been supporting me on my podcast. It means the absolute world to me. It really does. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I think I will do it for this podcast episode. Kind of a short one if you think about it. But I want to thank all of you for watching and listening to today's podcast. It means the absolute world to me. If you want to see more content from me on this channel, be sure to subscribe to the Roger Radio Show. Oh, hit that bell, tell your friends and family and everything in between. And if you want to see more content from me, be sure to subscribe to the Interrobang group as well. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, ta-ta for now!